how Saquon. Oh, excuse me.
I don't know that.
Joel, your backs seem to have a really strong game throughout in the preseason opener. Just wanted to start with Tyrone Tracy, the rookie, and what you liked about how he played.
Definitive would be the word that I think you describe him right now. And that was the goal for all of us. I wanted us to go out there and obviously understand the game plan. It wasn't too complex, but have the ability to play fast and just let it fly. And so we can make good evaluations as far as, where we're at within the depth chart, make a fair assessment from their play style. And obviously the lights are not as big as they are, come here in about 3-4 weeks. But at least it's a good first impression for him.
Is that rare for a rookie to be definitive in his first real NFL action?
No. It's a standard for us. I mean, it's we're constantly trying to create a culture in the room, and part of that is what we do out there in practice, and it just has to carry over. So, is it rare? No. It doesn't surprise me one bit. That's kind of what I expected from him and the rest of the room.
Joel, you mentioned your depth chart. Do you look at 2, 3, 4? Obviously, you're assuming Devin's one. Do you look at 2, 3, 4 as a wide open competition, or has somebody grabbed a foothold?
I see it as a wide open competition right now. I think all three of those guys that played in the game, they did something to help their cause. And from a coaching perspective, you're always looking at things that maybe have held them from making a big jump to create some more separation. So. That's why we come out here and practice. It's stuff to work on and clean up from the game, and they're up to the challenge.
When I look at Singletary, forgive me, I don't have the exact numbers. I don't think he's had more than 200 carries, not touches, carries in a season. How confident are you he can be that next level 200 plus carry workhorse?
I mean, the season will kind of dictate that as far as how we're running the ball. How each game's a different story, how it plays out. So. He's done nothing but prove that he can, carry some of the load right there. And then, it's my job as an evaluator and Dave's and Calf and all this to find out, who can take a couple carries off of him when maybe he does get into a heavy load during a game or towards the end of the season. Because, as we all know, inevitably something happens during the season and you need somebody to step up.
What did you learn about Eric Gray taking that kind of dirty hit in practice? He stays in that practice, makes some plays, and then obviously pops a big one, makes a big catch in the game.
Being a fresh set of eyes here with him, and he's still relatively young, in the whole process of NFL football. But what I learned about him is he's tough. He's tough, and he's not going to back down to a challenge. He may not be this boisterous personality, but he's serious. He's a pro football player, and that run, it was special because he made a guy miss and made him look silly, and that's more credit to him as far as bouncing back, after getting the hit, and then he played downhill football, which was nice to see out there on game night.
How important is it for any of your backs to make the kind of catch like he did on that wheel route? Just in your offense.
Oh, it's everything. I mean, obviously. The perfect back is one that doesn't have to come off the field. They can run the runs, they can catch the catches, and they can block when called upon. We didn't get tested that much in the game, but come up third down, clutch situation, that was big. And he's done that in practice as well. So am I surprised? No, but it's just reassuring. It's confirmation that on game day it's not too big.
Is Dante Miller, Turbo, he seems like he's been ready from the jump of camp. He's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then he translates it to the game. Do you feel like he's even done more than you were expecting out of him throughout camp?
He's had a very, very productive camp. The trait that he has that the others in the room don't necessarily have is the just pure speed, the Tesla start, so to speak. He can get from 0 to 80 just like that. And he started to show a little of that comfort and utilizing that speed and that downhill mentality in the practice reps against Detroit and in some of the game reps the other day. So he's offered more than we envisioned because obviously he was a free player coming off the streets. I mean he came in in March last year, and there really wasn't a lot of film to evaluate, nothing really on the inside game, and he's shown that he doesn't play little. just because he's a shorter stature player. He plays big for how his stature is, so he's not afraid to mix it up on the inside part of the run game and block as well.
Sorry to interrupt you. There are a lot of guys in this league who, the first line in their resume is speed. He's had to come out here and kind of show that he's got more than that. I mean, obviously he has the kind of speed that jumps off the field, but how has he worked on the other parts of his game to kind of show you guys that it's not just a fast player who may have run
Well,
guy's 40?
I think part of it, I go back to what I started this interview with, is being definitive. Early on, OTAs, through the mini camp, there was some hesitancy as far as hitting something on the inside, and that was without pads. So, as an evaluator, you're like, maybe this guy doesn't want to go in the inside run game. And then as camp has started developing trust with the line, understanding concepts, where balls are supposed to go, I think the comfort level for him has risen. He understands the job requirements, and if he doesn't, I make sure he does. And he's grasped onto that. The whole room has. But he's obviously done a nice job on some of the things. Is it perfect? No. There's plenty of stuff to clean up with him and everybody else in the room. But, it's a good first baseline test as far as what we had the other night. And hopefully we can, match and surpass. That's the goal. That's the daily goal. Match and surpass. Get better. So,
Joel, you don't make the roster, obviously, but when camp started, just to be honest, I'm looking at the running back room and I'm saying, okay, maybe they need one guy who's like a heavy hitter, short yardage, bigger guy. But when I watch Tracy run and I look at how he's built, would you agree that he can kind of handle the inside?
I would go down that road. He's built a little different than the rest of the room. As a running back coach, we get greedy and we want to have this person and this, all different shapes and sizes of our toys. Well, that's not the case in the league all the time, just based on sheer numbers and the way you have to deal with your roster and your depth. So, when we took Tracy, obviously he does, on his film that you watch from college, he does show some physicality when he does run, and not that anybody else can't, but he's just the bigger body of the room, and he showed some more bludgeony runs the other day, in the game, and not that the other guys can't, but he's a big guy right now, and getting some of the short yard stuff. He could carry that torch, but am I going to anoint him right now? By all means, no.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Last one for me. In practice, there was a play where you guys kind of ran that Andy Reid shovel pass inside, but it was Neighbors who caught the pass. Like on the goal line in the red zone, where it's like the play rolls right, and then the quarterback kind of no look pops it inside on like a shovel. And usually
I don't even remember that play quite honestly.
Well, I brought it up because I was wondering if he technically in that role, in that play, he's kind of a running back. And I was wondering do you get involved in coaching a player like that when he's used on the inside as a weapon?
Like that, I learned a long time ago, when you have a player that's just a really good football player, you don't mess with them too much. You let them play ball, and they figure out the
get out of the way.
The rat ball or the gym ball. They're usually right, and if there's something you got to tweak, you tweak it. But most of the part, you're like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. You feel it out, and you do you. So that play, I didn't mess with them at all.
I said last one. I do have one more. You and I talked about this maybe during the spring, but when you coach a player like Alvin, many good players, but you coach a player like Alvin in New Orleans, as you're working with these backs, especially a lot of the young guys, how much do you show them clips of what he's done and how you kind of helped him develop? And then how much do you try to say, well, don't try to be him? But
no, there's obviously a slippery slope when it comes to a player like that, and you could also put that with Saquon. There's certain things that athletes that are built different and have different traits, they can just do a little bit better than some of the players we have. Here's the deal. It's all about technique, details, landmarks, and that's where I'll show the film as far as hey, here's where we got to be on pace with our landmarks on outside zone or duo. Here's our reads. And then you can get some route technique, the good and the bad. I don't just show all the good. And then obviously there's some that are I got my pet cat, my favorite runs, and I'm like, hey, this is all coaching, all joke, because it's not. It's the athlete doing something in space or deflecting off of 7 tacklers and scoring a touchdown. It's fun football to watch at the same time. But they've been all in, as far as watching tape, learning. And it's not just Alvin. It's Mark Ingram. It's Latavius Murray. It's Tim Hightower. We had Adrian Peterson for a little cup of coffee, and there's some
Right.
good stuff in the small window we had. So it's good just that you can see other guys doing it, and then obviously we have cross games, and we watch guys in the league right now that are doing good things, and just be a sponge. Don't be closed as far as the learning, and their game's going to always help improve.
Thank you.
No problem.